Running your business and working full-time from home is completely different, I think, than all the other conventions, right? The convention of working in an office, traveling to work, whether you take the car, public transport, everything that kind of goes along with working in an office or working for someone else is entirely different when you work at home. Now, I used to work for someone else for 10 years or so, and then I went on to be a full-time student. Then I started my own business and started working for myself. So I've kind of been through this whole transition. It's taken me about 7 or 8 years to really be settled with my way of working. Not someone else's way of working, my way of working. So when I used to work for someone else and making that transition to working for myself, it was strange going from a 9 to 5 into my own working environment. And I thought that I had to have a full diary of events, meetings, calls, networking, client work. I thought I still had to fill my diary up 9 to 5. It has taken me years to settle into running my business my way and realizing that I have way more control and flexibility than I ever thought I would have in my business. So what I'm going to share with you today are 3 main things that help me to have more control and therefore more flexibility over my day-to-day work, which obviously has a massive impact on what I can do in the home as well. Ready? Let's do it. Okay, so first on the list is less is more. Again, this has taken me years to figure out why this is so important. I used to say yes to everything. There was something about entrepreneurs and business that you say yes to everything and sort of figure it out later. It doesn't work like that. Less is more. I say no to most things. Even today, I replied to someone say, I don't even know what his opportunity was, but it's a no from me. I don't have any more to put on my plate. If I say yes to you, I'm having to say no to everything else. And that no includes spending time with my kids, spending time with my family, right? And this is one thing that I want to make really, really clear, is that my business comes second in the list of important things in my life. First of all, it's the home life and the family lifestyle, and the business comes second. So a lot of people can't get that around their head for some reason, that why wouldn't my business and my customers be the most important thing? Because that will allow me to then have a great life. But you can't, it isn't that way. It's family first, then the business, and building a business that helps to support the family lifestyle. That's the way it's going to be. Again, it's taken me a long time to figure out just how important that shift and that list of priorities is. I don't want to work any harder than I already have and than I already do. I think it's possible to actually work less and make more. And the only way to do that is by making sure that we say no to everything that's not important and saying yes to the things that are important and figuring out what those are. A big part of that is about understanding, what do you want? What kind of business do you want to run? What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? And then being completely focused on just building that and not getting distracted by what other people are doing in your industry. I run a very small business. It's like a company of one. There are other people that work with me, but it's really, I'm the sole driver and the person that drives this business. I have modest aspirations for growth. I want to do less now than I ever have, and I want to run a business that's sustainable and scalable over a long period of time. I want to do work that I love. I want everything to be on my terms. I want everything that's in my schedule to be voluntary. As in, I decided that it should be there. This comes back to really knowing what you want, what kind of business you want to have, what kind of lifestyle you want to have, how do you make all of that work together, and making sure that every decision that you make and everything that you say yes to drives you towards that vision and doesn't detract you from it. I get it though, my business doesn't seem like a normal business. Maybe you can't get your head around it, maybe it doesn't make sense to you. But I can tell you this, you have more control than you think you have. Even when you work for someone else, you have more control than you think you have. And I believe, and so does Cara, that this way of working from home, the working from home lifestyle, is going to be the way of the future. People are going to change the way that they work. They won't want to travel for miles a day in traffic to go to work, to do work that they don't want to do anymore, and they'll want to have more control. They'll want to work less, spend more time with their family. So that's the first big thing, understanding that less is more. By doing less, it allows you to be more focused on the things that matter and allow you to grow in a better way. It's just a far better way of life. You do not need to be busy. There was a time in the past, a few years ago, when I felt like my busyness was negatively impacting other people and obviously negatively impacting my life as well. I don't want people to think, oh, Chris is busy. That's not what I want people to think, that I'm just busy all the time. That's not a good way to live. So I wanted to get away from that. It's taken me years to shift. And just even recently, it was great to hear from one of my friends who came to visit us at the weekend, who said they loved coming to see us because it's just so chilled out. And I am way more chilled than I ever have been. And I'm doing work that I love. I love it more now than I ever have. And I'm working with people that I enjoy working with. And it's by making everything on a voluntary basis, doing less, but doing it on my terms. The second major factor that has allowed me to have more flexibility is simply by having more control. More control equals more flexibility. As I said though, it's not always been this way. I used to have my business running me. So, for example, client deadlines, other things that I had said yes to that I didn't truly want to do. So I always felt like I had no energy. I felt like I was always running around. My days were filled up from morning to night. It was an absolute nightmare, not the way to run a business. And as soon as I had kids and started building a family, I realised that this business needs to change. So about 2 or 3 years ago, I started to put in elements of control. Things that make everything on my terms. I get to decide what I do and when I do it, and whether I want to do it or not. Now, I'm not saying this is easy to do. This has took me years to develop. Over a long period of time, I managed to develop more and more control. And I also don't want this to come across as like this selfish thing. I do what I want when I want. I still have to do a lot of work. I still have to work hard. I still have to do things that maybe I don't particularly love about business, but I have to do them anyway. Just because I run my own business doesn't mean I get to love everything about it. But I also want to be clear that I understand that this is a luxury. To be in a position like this is a luxury for most people. But I don't want you to think that you can't achieve it either. You can achieve the same level of control that I have. The flexibility that you get from control is amazing. So let me give you an example of that. So this morning, for example, I woke up at 6:30. That's what time we normally wake up at. We don't always get up at 6:30, but we wake up at 6:30. And it just so happened that last night that Cara had a bit of a rough night with Luna. Right, so Luna was up a couple of times during the night, which means that Cara was tired. So instead of me getting up and going to work in the morning, I got up and spent a couple of hours with Luna, looked after her, fed her. Well, that allowed Cara to catch up on a little bit of sleep and have some time to herself. I have got control. I can do whatever I want when I want to, and it makes it really easy when you know that family is first and business is second. So when a family issue comes up or there's something that needs to move around the family, moving business is simple. We can have our calls tomorrow or the next day. We can shift work to another time. Having total control equals total flexibility. I used to lose sleep over client work and client deadlines. Now I don't have any clients. So everything that I do and every deadline that I do have and all the work that I do have is completely voluntary. Going back to the first point, less is more. Saying no more than you say yes is one of the most liberating factors for happiness and success in business. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So don't believe that you have to say yes to everything. Don't believe that you have to work 20 hours a day. Working harder is not a strategy for scale. So we get to this point where we're looking at my schedule, right? And some days I've got nothing in there. I get to come down and write on a post-it note, which is up here on the side of my computer, about the 5 or 6 things that I'm going to do today. So I have total control. I can just plan out what I want to do at the start of the day and make it happen. But there's certain things that have to happen at certain times. So for example, I don't do any in-person meetings. I don't do any in-person networking. Very rare do these things happen. And most of the time I sit in front of my computer just like this and I have all my networking calls at one time. So I batch everything into one time. So I have a booking system, a scheduling system that allows me to do that. So if someone wants to have a call with me or I want to book a call with someone else, it happens on my terms. I send them the booking link, they book a call in, and it goes into a time that is suitable for me to have calls. Right now, for me, that's a Tuesday afternoon. It used to be that I did calls every day. But over time, I have managed to figure out when it needs to be, and it needed to be on a Tuesday afternoon for me. More on that in a second. Other examples of having things on my own terms are being able to block out weekends, block out Wednesdays, making sure that I don't take any meetings in the mornings, and it's just by putting things in place, putting rules in place, that have allowed me to do that. Which kind of leads me on to my final point, my final and third point, which is about creating the environment that allows you to win. Creating the environment that allows you to do your best work. So this book by Dan Pink, When by Dan Pink, has been a great read for me. It's something that's confirmed stuff that I have already known, I was already working towards, but a big part of that was understanding when I do my best work. And I do my best work in the morning, and Cara and I both know that. We've had a chat about it. So if I can get a morning to work, Cara and I know that the mornings are good for me. So let Chris work in the morning, he can do other things in the afternoon. For example, I don't take any meetings or calls in the morning because it's my best time. Meetings, calls, emails, admin, all gets done in the afternoon because that's when I'm not at my best. I need my brain fully active in the morning for creative reading, writing, creating stuff, ideas, thinking, all of that stuff that goes along with my job and the business development that I do needs to happen in the morning. So very rarely will I do a workshop or speaking or do any meetings in the mornings. Even online calls happen in the afternoon. So you have to figure out for yourself, when do you do your best work? Check out When by Dan Pink, and there might be some ideas in here about how you can structure your day so that you can do your best work. How can you create more control in your business or your day-to-day life that allows you to do your work at the right time, to do your family stuff at the right time, and how can you ultimately put more control measures in place so you can have more flexibility? You might not get to the point where you've got as much flexibility as I have or control that I have, depending on the type of work you do and who you work for, but you can make your life so much easier by saying no more often, by putting controls in place to give you more flexibility to allow you to do your better work and to create a better environment for you to do your best work and to be your best self, happier, less stressed, more focused, and just creating the best work that you can possibly create. So figure out what's important to you and start putting things in place that help you to live the life that you want to live. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your ideas, your questions in the comments section. Make sure you jump in. Let's have a conversation about it. I hope you've got some value from today. Take one thing, put it into practice, and if you've got any questions, pick my brain. My door is always open. I hope you've had an amazing day. Don't forget to be awesome.